Hello. Figured I'd do another video today quick. I wish I'd have done it a little sooner. I always forget to make something and then put my stuff away. So I did a little blueprinting today to check everything over. As you can read this stuff here. Going through, checking like my cylinder taper, piston to wall clearance, main bearing clearance. I only did one of those because the bearings all looked really similar, and I wanted to check that one specifically because those were the loosest rod bearing clearances. And as well, it's right next to a main cap that I didn't mess up, but yesterday when I took all these apart and inspected them, I, for some reason, forgot that these might loosen up, back out a little bit, and when I put it back on, it had loosened up a little and was sticking up some, and these two as well were up a little bit, and I missed it. I knew something was funky though because my shallow well socket was having trouble grabbing on the nut, and I was like, there's something going on here. What happened? But these two guys backed out almost exactly the same, about three turns or so. So I didn't catch it right away because, you know, they were visually super equal. So take your time, guys. Doesn't hurt to have a friend or somebody who's got some experience with you, you know, because you get lost. You know, you get in your head and you're thinking about stuff, and shit can get by you. But my dad came up. I got them all retorqued, and I said to him, you know, I couldn't get this on with the same socket for some reason. I couldn't for the life of me, and I thought it might have backed out, but then I said, well, they're equal. You know, they were just a hair higher than those. And and he said, well, take it apart and redo it. And sure enough, he said they must have backed out. And I had tried to play with them when I took them apart, but I don't know, maybe I forgot, like I was saying, going through quick or whatever. But if you have any thought like that, and this happens, I mean, this is the maybe fifth motor I've done, and I've had really good luck with all of them. But so I would say I'm fairly experienced and kind of know pretty much what I'm doing. But shit can slip by you, and you could mess up bad. So I'm glad we caught that. I finger set them all back in, and we retorqued it all. And they all look very equal, so I'm not really worried about just plastic gauging this one to get an idea, because this is all spec'd out very close. I mean, it's only been off a little bit from it, you know, back and forth. I mean, there's variance and tolerance and stuff. Yeah. So anyway, those main clearances are a little tighter than I would like. If they're all at, you know, 17 thousandths, whatever. So anyway, or no, not 17 thousandths. Yeah. See, it's easy to just make a mistake when you're dealing with this tiny stuff and you don't do it every day. But, you know, just over 1.5 thousandths, I should say. But the rods are pretty consistent. The rod bearings, they're all close. I got, you know, these guys that are about 0.5 thousandths looser than they average in pretty well though. You know, tightest one being number 8 at just over 2 thousandths, just around 2.5 though. 2.5 to 3 is pretty good for a motor like this that has a lot of extra power. This does have a little bit of cylinder taper. What's about 1 thousandths to 1.5 thousandths. I don't think that's really an issue. You see, I don't want to make you guys sick whipping this camera around, but anyway, pretty quick. I'm going to get to the how to check your bearing clearance. But I did want to pop out a piston off the table here and look. There's like a little bit of break-in wear on them. You can see where I measured them with the dial bore gauge. It leaves a little shiny mark, but you can't feel that or anything. So this one, yeah, there's another little mark from it. You can see it right there. But I definitely want to run a little thicker oil in this, though. The oil pressure was a little lower at idle with the thinner oil I was running. So anyway, I'll quickly go over this. And I'm not gonna do it because I only got one hand. You know how I make videos if you watch these. So what you do, measure your crank pin, get a good feel on it. There's a million online sources on this. Measure this. These measure, they're Chevy size to help clear rod bolts from the skirts and block and whatever, because it's a stroker. So you measure that, get your number, lock this guy, put it in the vise. Then the number on these was generally like 2.201. It's like a thousandth over, mostly. So you'll lock this dude in the vise, right? Lock him in there. Not gonna do it. Make sure this is set up. Set this up with the correct extension parts. Get it in there. It's a pain in the ass. Move it back and forth until you see where the needle drops. When the needle bottoms out, zero it. Lock down your ring, bezel. So now you take that out, set it on the table, take the micrometer out, set it on the table. Lock your rod in here. Retorque the cap with the bearing inside. Then you'll just take that dial bore indicator, put it in there very gently, move it back and forth, and you'll see the needle sweep down. And generally it's not going to sweep down to zero because it's a little bit bigger. So it'll sweep down, and you'll move it back and forth, and you'll see it sweep and stop and stop and stop. And once you get the stop number, you're going to get, that's a half. It's graduated in halves. Half thousandth, half thousandth. So that's 2.5 right there. So you'll get, you'll see the difference, 2.5. Boom, you're done. Write it down. Take it out. Do it 8 more times. Simple. The piston to wall clearance is a little different. You got to measure a piston up there. Lock that in the vise. Flip it over. Measure your piston skirt right in the middle of the skirt, 90 degrees to the pin. It's hard though. It's not easy. I got a bigger micrometer down there. These are made in China, actually, and they're accurate and they're pretty good, tough enough for what I use. I mean, they're not Starretts or nothing. I do have a Starrett micrometer, but I don't know, what is this brand? Shars, maybe? I don't know. But they seem to work well. They weren't hyper expensive at all, and hell, whatever. They're good enough for my every 5-6 years of usage. Anyway, so you measure the piston. It's aluminum. It's difficult. You get a measurement, write it down. My pistons were 30 over, and they had 5 thousandths clearance built into them, apparently. So you do the same procedure with the micrometer locked in there. Get a different, extension for that'll read 435-ish or and over. Lock that up. Do the same thing in the mic. Zero it. Then you go down your bores, measuring, and that'll give you your piston to wall clearance. And then through that, up and down the bore, you'll get whatever taper you have from top to bottom. Generally, the top's bigger because the rings wear there, and the bottom has more oil and shit splashed on it. So that's what I did today. It seems to be in pretty good shape. So moving on, I got to get some custom pistons. Probably that's gonna cost me a bit of change. So all right, take it easy.